veterans were recently surveyed, and only about 30% of them were familiar with the VA mortgage. I thought it would be a great idea to just do a kind of a thumbnail of what the VA mortgage is all about and why it's important. First of all, it's 100% financing, so you can finance the entire amount of the purchase of the home with no down payment. Now, there are closing costs involved, but there are a lot of times those can be covered by the seller in most circumstances. That's kind of the first part of it. But let's get into what the VA loan is all about, kind of like who's eligible. First of all, if you served for 181 days consecutively in peacetime or any service, you are eligible, obviously, if you served in the military, but it has to be at least 181 days of continuous active service, okay? You will be eligible. And the other one is 90 days. This doesn't have to be consecutive, by the way. 90 days of combat, action, actually in armed conflict. 90 days. Again, not consecutive. This has to be consecutive. This does not. Okay, that's just the first thing. Okay, now, if you're not familiar with it, when you are discharged or when a veteran is discharged, they receive information on a website, and they get what's a form that is needed to do or to apply to find out if they can get, a VA benefit or a VA mortgage, and they have to get what's called a COE, okay? And it's the Certificate of Eligibility. So they're going to get, it's also called, leave it to the government, right, for a form, but the form is 2661800. So this is the Certificate of Eligibility, okay? It's also known as a 2618880. Down below, I will have a link to the VA's website, and you will have this, to get this form. So that's great. Also is a 50, 60-page printed PDF manual of pretty much every question you could possibly imagine about, VA mortgages. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to switch to blue because we'll just do red, white, and blue, since I can't do white, of course, because the board is white, but you get the idea. Trying to be patriotic at the same time. Patriotic, but yet so you can see it. All right, so now when you're on the website, it's important for you to know, we discussed who could, as far as active duty. Now also, if you have to be honorably discharged, it has to be honorable, okay? So if you got, I'll say, kicked out, you can't qualify. You will not be eligible, okay? That's important for you to know. It must be an honorable discharge. The spouse, okay, is also available to get a VA mortgage. Now, the spouse has to be married to the veteran, okay, or the spouse becomes a widower in the event the veteran died in service or because of something that happened in service. So, for instance, let's just say your spouse is injured while serving, and then they die, okay? That spouse is eligible for a VA loan, okay, given everything else equal, okay? So that's pretty cool, okay? So that's the kind of the first section of who qualifies in that context, okay? A couple of other things to note as far as qualifications are concerned, okay? So now, a lot of people will say, hey, my mom or my dad, they were veterans. They served, their 90 days or their 120 days, or 181 days, excuse me, et cetera, et cetera. Can I get a VA loan? No. No, you cannot. Nope. Sorry. Now, what you could do, however, is you could, if your mom and or dad was still around, okay, and this could be really anyone, it doesn't have to be a relative, but the veteran can get a loan with you. You can jointly, okay, get a loan. So you can be, a co-buyer. Sorry, my penmanship isn't very good. You can be a co-buyer on the purchase and or, on the mortgage. A couple of things here. Number one, they have to, the veteran has to physically be in the home. It can't be just, hey, I'll take your eligibility, thanks, mwah. Enjoy Florida. it has to be, the veteran has to live in the home and have residence in the home. The point of the VA loan and the point of the benefit of having a veteran's mortgage assistance, program for a vet is to benefit them when they're not, or when they are, but just to benefit them as a service, because it's a benefit from the government to get this sort of loan. Now, as far as qualifying is concerned, qualifying is pretty much the same. I mean, it's not like, you still have to pay your bills, you still have to have, the ratios, correct, or, within reason. Generically, with a VA loan, generically it's 6 to 8% more or greater qualifying power. So a VA loan versus conventional, okay, given everything else equal, has about a 6 to 8% more powerful buying power than a conventional loan, which is pretty darn cool. So, and of course, don't forget the 100% financing, et cetera, et cetera. Now, one other thing that a person could do, as far as, a relative, or let's say, it's a friend or a relative and they have a VA loan, you could assume that VA loan. You could assume the loan. Okay? One of the cool things about VA loans, and this is also true of other types of government loans or government, related loans, you can assume them. And they can be assumed by a relative or friend, but they could be assumed by anybody, as long as you qualify. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, it depends on a lot of different things, but what if they have a really good interest rate? That would be a wonderful thing. If I could assume my uncle's loan on my uncle's house, and then, of course, buy his house, that would be a good thing. Okay, it would be a great thing. Let's say it's 3%. Well, right now, I don't know, maybe mortgage rate 6, 7%. I don't know, right in there. That's a really good deal. So I could assume his or her loan, VA loan, that's okay. Now, a little catch here. The qualifying, okay, the vet loses however much this was part of their qualifying. Like, remember when I talked about at the beginning, the COE, the Certificate of Eligibility, the 26-111880, that you do lose some of your eligibility. I don't know the exact formula to that, okay, but it's possible you, the vet, if they're still living, may not be able to get another VA mortgage until this mortgage is paid off in full. So if this is assumed, it's as if to the government they still have the loan. So I appreciate you watching. Please just click on any of the links below to get this information. There's links to the VA, links to the get your COE, links about all kinds of different stuff. And there's also a link to the webpage of my favorite loan officer friend who does veterans loans, and he does a great job for my clients.